Hello, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central, and it is Friday, May 18th, 2018, and I am back again with my gal pals, my posse, Lisa Flamino Rush and BZ Rieger. Welcome, ladies, for our conversation this evening. So I don't know how we want to start this one out, because shall we share how this conversation actually came out?
Sure.
Okay, so BZ was off having some fun and decided to have some fun with Lisa and I. And I'm going to pull up your text, BZ, because, well, actually, I don't have to pull it up because I can read it straight from here because I wrote it down.
Okay.
So BZ texted Lisa and I, and she said, well, she asked us if we wanted to play. Spend now through Thursday mid-morning noticing and recording when either of us, Sheila or Lisa, say or think or hear or see in a comment online where a program, a belief, mentality is expressed. For example, when will the deep state give up? I can't do my vision. I have no resources. My boss makes me feel XYZ in a bad way, etc. And to give context, if possible, the physical circumstance that mirrors that program, belief, or mentality. And as I was writing that down, because I said, sure, I'll play. Famous last words. I've done nothing but right ever since. At any rate, I immediately wrote "holy crap" in big letters, because just in writing that down, my thought process went.
Listen.
Yes, I listened to my thought process, and oh my gosh, all of lots and lots and lots of just in my thoughts about what I was writing down.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't do this because of this, and all kinds of stuff. So just that little making it right up here, like I talk about being right up here in the forefront of your consciousness, right in front of your face, where you just cannot miss it, because here Lisa and I live together, so we are doing this together, and we're and so first of all, we know we're going to be coming with you, BZ, so I see Lisa grab hers. Oh, are you going to write now? Yes, I'm writing. What are you doing?
Well, that was part of it too. So individually, I asked you, and then whatever your eyeballs saw. But if the other one saw the other one doing it, they were supposed to.
Yeah, I know we were supposed to, but let me.
Yeah, we couldn't do that.
I was so busy checking.
Honestly. I was like, listen, honey, you gotta do you over there, because there's a lot of work that I did not have time for at this moment of now. As I find my hands are pretty full.
Yeah, that's right. There was no telling on each other whatsoever, because we were too.
No, I was like, well, you took that one back pretty fast. That was good. Write that one down.
I was gonna say I didn't have time to tell on you.
I know.
I was.
So
yeah,
I did a program note, and I know they're both laughing, but notice how they're both saying "tell on you."
Yeah.
Can you say program? Can you say mentality?
I'm telling you.
Yes, even at that. That's what I'm saying. Just
yes, and it doesn't want to be discovered at all.
No. No. I think that's very clear. Even when even when I have it called right here, right at the tip of the nose, like you said, programming note. Notice they're saying tell on each other. I mean, it's so easy. This is not, I mean, yeah, becoming 100% fully in every moment of now.
And there's a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They just keep coming.
Before we got on camera, you guys were going. I asked if you'd had a chance to do, the noticing play that I sent you. And you said, yeah, and so a lot of conversation ensued from that. And part of it was, again, programs. Well, do you remember what either of you said? You can just give that snippet before we go on to the really magolicious news.
Well, are you talking about the fact that I didn't have time to do anything else?
Yeah.
Because that's really all
you had. What was your phrasing about, wow, I still have so much to.
Oh my gosh, I've still got so far to go. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Just seeing that, just feeling into that inside of or at the periphery of almost every single thought, no matter what actually comes out the mouth, because it starts up here first.
Right.
Every single thought. It is that, yeah, I feel you.
Well, I had to stop talking. Okay, for a minute there. I had to just shut her down and really be careful about what was going on in here, because and if you're not careful with it right here, it is running out your mouth. Mm-hmm. So that was really important for me to realize that I could just shut it all down for a second. And by the end of it, it did get easier, however, because of well, first of all, I was so embarrassed by the way I've been talking to myself, really, because I'm working on new skills, and I'm being very mean to myself for not mastering a new skill at the first go round. Mm-hmm. And that's not even nice. So, I went through a huge amount of range of emotions behind what I was observing. So, I highly recommend this exercise for you.
And before we get to kind of the setup piece to this, so I just want, while we're on both of that, so do you think, had you not done this play, that the things that you've just, very briefly, we had more detail before, enumerated, would have become obvious?
No, not for me.
Not in this manner, not this quickly. I'm aware that there's, programming and that sort of thing still there. It's one thing to say that. It's quite another to be confronted with it, and almost every thought, and if not in the thought, somewhere located very nearly close by.
Right.
Like on the periphery of what, well, okay, so what brought the thought about could have been something very self-limiting. Things are still, the word embedded doesn't sound right, but enmeshed, and so to speak, right. With me at this moment.
That's why the last part of it was, and to give context, if possible, the physical circumstance that mirrors that program, belief, mentalities that's expressed. Because usually that's it, something, you can see the shark fin coming in the water. Right, in an emotion or something before the music starts playing, then it bites you.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to give a little bit more context, I was sitting, and because I was able to get away for a few moments, and I actually had some creative selves come back in, and my version of watching paint dry, which is, you know, watching grass blow in the wind or whatever. I was playing with and was able to let a lot of hear a lot of people's questions or what their focus is or where they seem to be having trouble come in. And a common one was, you know, what's blocking my blah blah blah? What's keeping me from this? What's taken so bloody long? You know, whatever it was. And so I was again chuckling, and the first thing that came into my thought is, well, what's blocking my every moment of magolicious experience? And the answer is, so if someone says that to me, the answer is you. You're blocking. You're doing that. And the reason that is, and remember, when someone, we've talked about this with Sheila and Lisa, you know, when you say I, and I say, who's the I? Which I?
Right.
So when I say you, which you, and this, you know, if you were going to highlight it with a uppercase or lowercase, it's a lowercase you. It's a lower mind you. It's the beliefs and the mentalities and, you know, the programming and all of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is no out there until you put it out there. So programming notes, see previous videos, you know, it matters what you say because it turns into matter. So when you're transmitting your energy and your focus on something, with the examples that you guys gave, you're fueling it. You have now put a jet engine power pack on it, and you've given voice to it. You've turned it into matter. Then you will see a reflection of that out there coming back to look at you. So Lisa, you had said, let's say I made some notes. You guys are both saying, so
Yeah.
Well, Sheila, why can't I do this? Or that there was fear coming up, or Lisa, I don't know how. Okay, so let's just stop right there for a minute to simplify it. So you have something, because you're creator beings. You're not small. I'm sorry.
Right.
I really, really, really hate to break it to you, but you're not small. Okay?
Okay.
So you're creator beings, and you give voice to something with, and oftentimes with a lot of energy. There's a lot of passion behind it. So there's a lot of fuel, a lot of juice.
Yes.
No, and I can't. I can't. You don't understand. You know, I'm not like you. You know, variations on that theme, right? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And you then turn it into matter. You've turned it into actual molecular, because everything is frequency. And things vibrate at different rates, so they turn into more particulates, matter. So now you've put it in there because we'll use a metaphor, you've waved your magic wand with the spell that you've been speaking, and it's conjured, and it's now out there because you put it out there. So now it comes around to show you, and it says, I'm the piece of matter that is, I can't do that. I'm afraid of that. Okay, well, let me give you something to be afraid of. Cool. Do you see what I'm saying? Because
yes,
we create it. So the beauty is, it's as simple as that. And as excruciatingly difficult to navigate or cognize or just come face to face for a realization. And I always used to say, you know, wow, so many years ago, but I knew I was on the right track when something, I could see that something was simple, hold that concept, and it was when I got to the point where it would capture him and it was excruciatingly difficult, I was jazzed because I knew I was on the right track. I knew I was going in the places I needed to go.
Right.
To integrate it, to let it all go, to switch it around, to clean up, you know, lots of ways you could, of what I was creating, manifest. So, right in this moment, the energies on the planet, remember, you know, I was saying you got to level up or leap off. So the planet is already at a much less density and in a much higher vibration, well beyond fifth dimension. And we're all going that way. And our physical bodies are all going that way. So we're expressing and expelling all of that stuff. So on the one hand, you could say it is much, 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 much easier to do this now than when I first started doing it. Because
right,
I was sitting on a rock that was down in 3D. and a nut job by everybody else, you know, I'm the nut job on a rock, so, you know, it's hard. But now everything is easier. That's part of the good news. Part of the bad news is because those energies are more, have up-leveled more and have less density to them, the time between what you give voice to and turn into matter and put it into something that's out there,
mm-hmm.
really quick. So if it's not magolicious,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got a shark fin on it, you know,
it's coming for you.
Now, thoughts become things too, so it's kind of important to, because
Yes.
that's where most of my, I mean, yes, some things were still coming out of my mouth, but I was just very, very, very surprised at a lot of the thoughts, the self-limiting thoughts, you know.
They're ingrained within your body. They're in your cellular memory.
Mm.
And we're changing everything in our body.
Now, I know that that's
your body is different than you are tonight.
Yeah, no, I know that that's true. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But that's a true statement.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And so in the time, so here's some of the, we can play more with more details, which will kind of illuminate more of the good news. But in just doing this, you've, to use a linear metaphor, you've traveled an awfully long way in a very short space of time.
Yeah, that's true.
And thrown off a lot of stuff, noticed a lot of stuff, had an awareness to a lot of stuff, and now you can see it. So once you can acknowledge something is there, it's easier to call it out quicker. It's also easier to root it out. So it's not like you have to go back and, you know, however many things you wrote down, whether it's, you know, this long or, you know, a couple reams long. You don't have to go back to each one and work it. This is not like, you know, therapy where you keep paying the person for years
to rehash old stories.
Right, because what are you doing? You keep giving voice to it. So what do you keep doing? It keeps being out there because you put it out there.
Yep.
But it's good for marketing.
Right.
And it's
Good
good
for the economy.
it's good for the economy, and it's really good to not let you get rid of it.
True.
Yes, because then you're trapped in that endless cycle of therapy and pharmaceuticals and,
that's right.
Until you just give up and, wow.
Everything's connected. There's a beautiful, it's really a sublimely beautiful design. It's all laid and all the pieces are there. And when you get to a space and perspective and expansion, you can really, one of these, in a moment, it will hit you and go, wow. I mean, because you think about it, we're creators, you think, well, what an amazing, complex, diverse, wild array. I mean, we thought of everything in every shade, in every hue, in every tactile way, in everything. And it's just sublimely delicious. How amazing that it is. I mean, it really is. I've been saying that for years, and people would look at me like, what, are you nuts? I'm saying, no, can't you see? I mean, yeah, there's perceptions of hard and horrible and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely. But that's one perception. And the reason that I loved being able to see that was because then I could see the truth of what we all were, is that we are creators. So if we can do that, then we can choose something what we want, that we're more conscious in a way to do that. That's not in the same polarized thing, because we're ending the duality and the severe polarization, because that was the trajectory that we took out, and it was different. This is several other videos. It was different from, the tinkering phase and then the living library phase before that. And, we'll get to that, but when you can see that, then you can realize, because where we're going, well, it's not, and what we're fully stepping into. So, because we're creating where we're going, and then we're stepping into it. So it's not like over there someplace. We make it.
Well, that's another conversation that I want us to have too.
Well, somebody make notes, because I.
Well, no, I've made a note about that one actually, and if the three of us don't get to that soon, I think Lisa and I are going to try to. Because you're right, we are right now creating the out there.
And this is how we do it. This is how we get it, because one of the things that started me off thinking about is what's blocking. A lot of people were asking questions, what's blocking this or me or whatever it is, and the answer is because each one, you can think of it as you're creating your own reality, your own solar system, your own universe, everything and all the components in it, because you create worlds and quasars and the whole shebang. Anything out there that you see got created, and you're a creator being, and there's a whole other bunch. So the cadres of them went out there, made these things. So that's what's blocking. If you feel that there's blocking, if you feel that it's not taking well, if you feel that you look out there and you see, what is that thing doing out there? And a lot of times there's tremendous amount of frustration. Okay, people just get really pissed off when you say that. Because somehow they're thinking that someone's trying to make them wrong, or someone's trying to blame, it's your fault, you create, right? It's not about that. It's simply to understand how magnificent you are. And that when you are doing things in a way that's unconscious, as example, what you guys went through, I just made a simple text, you want to play? And everybody said, yeah. And so I texted what the play was, and they all said, oh, crap.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
But it brings those things there that heretofore we're not aware of. You didn't notice. They weren't, and it's not any kind of linear thing of knocking down a peg. It has nothing to do with that. It's not to know, oh, you're not really very good. It has nothing to do with it. It's simply to let you see how amazing that you actually are and what the program, so that if it came up that quickly, if you wrote them down that quickly, I mean, you had just transcribed the text, Sheila, and it was holy crap. Okay, well, that's great. I mean, that's where you start celebrating. That's where you start saying, wow, I'm amazing, because I've been digging.
And then right under it, I said, I see what you did there, BZ. Thank you with all of me. That's exactly what it says. I see what you did there the minute I wrote it down. Yeah,
because if you pull it out, then you can look at it, then you can express and expel it, then you can see that it's there. And like I said, you don't have to go into each one. By doing this and then realizing how powerful you are and the way that you do it, you can actually dematerialize them wholesale in big swaths and bubbles, and they're gone. Yeah, there might be a few kind of that float around, but
well, no, you're right. And I will say that I know I did notice that, because there were at least a couple of those that I had written down. Well, because specifically the second one in your, for example, was I can't do my vision.
mm-hmm.
Now, we all know that I've had that vision / creation of something that's out there waiting. And so immediately, that is exactly what caused the holy crap, because I realized immediately that there's a whole bunch of thoughts behind that. And so as I sat going through those, where did that come? Why? What is this now? And why is this? And why am I holding on to that? And so, yeah, without having undertaken this play, however, I'm not certain I would have seen that. And I will say too, though, that the being able to let go of some of those things wholesale that you just spoke of is a real thing too. As the moment some of those were released by me, I actually saw forward movement in some of the things. So it just immediately proved to me that what you're saying there is so. And so this is something that I would highly recommend to everyone to try for themselves. Just, of course, I don't know, maybe it's because Lisa and I were here together. It's because we treasure these conversations with you so much, BZ. But this, that's not, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to be real honest here. Had I not had the two of you, I'm not sure I would have undertaken this in such a serious fashion the way I did.
Programming, no. There's a program.
There's a program. Wow, that's interesting. Well, I mean, I just had to be honest about it, because I'm not certain I would have, which is, something to look at in and of itself, I think, for myself. And the reason I bring it up is because anyone that's watching this that might not have someone in their immediate vicinity that they're going to be turning their list over to, you may not take this very seriously. But I have to say that this was a very, 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 very productive exercise for me.
Quite eye-opening.
Yes, very eye-opening.
Yes. It changed the way I go about what I'm trying to go about. So that was pretty big.
Only that?
Yeah, only that.
And you did it. You changed it. And you did about it.
Yes.
And you showed you.
I sure did.
Well, see, but again, a good way.
Yes.
in a really expansive, reflective way. So
Yes.
when you were talking, Sheila, a couple things are, well, you had mentioned you reset what I said about you can let them go wholesale, and someone said, but I can't just do that. Okay, well, put that on the list. That's, so sometimes there may be a few that you got to go around and go, rope-a-dope and play with those a little.
Yeah, no, that will come up because, there were a few things that, I don't know if it was smarmy or not, but there were a few things that wanted to come out and dance and say, oh, but what about this? Mm-hmm. And, what about this? And so, yeah, there was a bit of that, even so.
And the thing that's really powerful, if you say, let me see, I'm just going to write this down so we have something. And it's kind of scribbled, so I can't do that. So that's what comes up.
Yeah.
So realize that you just created that.
Yeah, you just put the brakes on.
Not only did you put the brakes on for whatever you're focused on, but you put the brakes on for the reflection of that to come to you, because that's what you gave choice to. You chose to create that. You chose to give voice to that. You chose to fuel that. You are a creator being, whether you know it or not, whether you understand it or not, right? And when you say something like that, and this is an example, now you have all sorts of, because the energies are such and you're that good and you're swimming in rarefied, delicious, yummy, let's create now gangbusters energy, you're going to get out there coming back to you. You can't do that. You can't do that. No, you're at work. You can't do that. You're in a relationship. You can't do that. You're in money. You can't do that. Right? Or you want to do something and, I can't do that. So these are real things.
Yes.
It's a real thing. It's a car. It's a vacation. It's a, community you want to be. It's whatever, this is just a sentence here. But what I'm trying to get people to really see with all of you, how you see that these are tangible, physical, absolute things that you put out there.
Yes.
And if you changed it up, I create that.
I love it.
So or any variation thereof. So now you've put this out there. You put the out there out there. Oh, look, so-and-so created that. Wow, they created that. And and someone else is doing it, so there's co-creation. They're playing together. And I can create that. And I did create that. And more of it. And so these are real, they're just as tangible as the chair, the table, or the computer, or anything else. They're as tangible as the failing, crumbling systems out there, everything that you're seeing.
Yes, and it's so I've noticed for myself that it's really important to get a grip on how I think about things, how I speak about things,
how you feel,
how I feel about things.
Very important, because oftentimes the feeling, the emotion, that's why I asked for the context around it, because that's going to be a lot of times a signal that's hiding and lurking. And if you can, play with that. So don't worry so much about what the thought, mentality, phrase, program came up, but in that moment, what were you thinking, feeling, doing, sensing, any of those just prior to, and was there an emotion, whatever it was, so that you can start to especially, and you don't have to do this with all of them. As I'm saying, you can wholesale just dematerialize a lot of them, but a few that are going to be bigger hangers on for you because they have multiple layers, may have shoots, that will help you see. And when I say see, I'm saying just like, you know, we had that play session once about, you know, close your eyes and what do you see, and you know, and you described this amazing thing and you said, but I don't see anything after. Okay, so let go of being literal, let go of attachment to the different words, however, but seeing is all of it. That's how we see, that's how we create this. So, you know, everything out there right this moment was all created by a collective consciousness, by us individually, by its different focuses. That's why there's so many. That's why, okay, this is funny that it popped in, but DOJ is in my head a lot. So, you know, haven't you heard in a spy novel or all sorts of places when they're talking about something happened and you're having witnesses? So you can have 7 different witnesses and 9 different accounts of what just happened by the eyewitness.
Right.
Because they're actually different realities. And now more than ever, that's the case because the energies have changed and the bubble of the false construct is much clearer. And so our perception that we're holding, our reality that we're creating, walking in, or collapsing, you know, you could say you're collapsing realities, you're collapsing timelines. They're not exactly the same, but there's, for this portion, they're, you know, you can say them in the same, use them fairly interchangeably. And that's why. Because you're changing. So as you, like I said, you know, you're different than you were this morning. So you've actually collapsed a lot of timelines and realities that you had because of the shift that you made in doing this play, that's why you can wholesale dematerialize bunches and bunches and bunches of them, because in the very act of noticing, in the very act of cognizing that you create, that the out there is there because you put it out there and you fuel it and you give energy to it, and then you pop it into physicality. That's actually collapsed a lot of that stuff because now you can see it. It's not a head scratcher. It's not an annoyance. It's not a thorn in your side. It's not someone won't let me do this, or they're doing this to me. They're being mean to me. Whatever, you know, the euphemisms are for all those kinds of things. We know what it is. And if we can not jump into another mentality program and say, well, it's hard, or I don't get it, or you say, hot damn, I am amazing. Look what I can do. Wow.
I rock.
Yeah. Everybody really rocks.
Yes.
And so that takes the sting. I just let it go. Believe me, anything that you can imagine, pretty much, that you need to let go, I'll play with them because, I don't know, I got a bad habit of doing these things. So you can let it go and just go, okay, well, that was interesting, very colorful. I now choose to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, no, I'm amazed at actually how simple it actually is.
It is simple.
And yet and yet
excruciatingly difficult.
Yeah.
Well, that's courtesy of all of our programming and conditioning, but I still I do maintain that
but it's a very valid perspective and feeling.
Yes, it is. And
just don't get stuck.
Well, that's what I was going to say. For me, just being willing to look at it, just being willing to even just being open to examine. That's all I did at first. So all I did was, okay, something doesn't feel right, look right, smell right, something. So let's take a look under the hood. What do we got going on in here? And just being willing to look at it, because that was the for me personally anyway, that's the hardest thing. The hardest hurdle is being willing to look at all of these things. But then seeing them and just being able to release them. But then you said, it doesn't matter how much. Well, I won't say it doesn't matter, because it does. I was just very surprised to find how many of them are still there. So.
And for the most part, unbeknownst to you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask both of you, you've given a voice to a little bit just now, Sheila, but Lisa, maybe you would. Did it surprise you, just the simple act of what I texted to you guys if you wanted to play, and in reading it and just the jump of reading it, and then actually honoring your saying, yeah, I wanted to play honor for yourself, not for me, but for you, because that's what it's all about, right? To play with it. Did it surprise you, number one? And number two, how did that show up, that really these simple little words, right, had the effect and brought stuff forward for you?
Yeah. And they really did too. And it was pretty visceral. Like, I was surprised. I almost felt a jolt of fear. I mean, I didn't want to call it fear in that moment, but that's really what it was, because it was the programs being afraid to be looked at, because they know what's coming. And that really is the biggest hurdle. I hate to quote Dr. Phil, but you cannot change things that you don't acknowledge. If you don't know that these programs are running your life, then you're just, being run over by the programs. So for me, I was surprised and shocked that the programs were so strong and still very, very active, because I've been working on this for a long time. I really have. I've been noticing. And for me, I noticed it was with the new skill, because technically it looks like I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I feel that way on some level of me. And so I had to really come to terms with that and go, oh, that's okay. That my ego feels that way. It's okay not to know a thing. And just even sitting with that knowledge for a second, because I know that who I am is a multidimensional creator being. So if I don't know right now, I can find out. Meaning I have pieces and parts of me that I can access. So it doesn't have to be in my right now. Like, no, I don't know where X or Y is, but I know I could find that place if I needed to. So I just found that I was shocked by how much was present, A, and B, how prevalent it was so embedded. Like, it took till today, really. I was still sort of, looking at it from every angle, because more angles would show up in different ways. And it made me, really have to look at everything. So I really recommend this exercise. And what I learned too at the end there was that it's okay. I felt myself embarrassed that I don't know everything, or that I'm not where I want to be just yet. And that was a whole other thing that I had to deal with too, is just being okay with where I am. And being proud of what I have accomplished, and really owning that.
Be here now.
Yeah. Yeah, enjoy the journey of discovering more about me instead of making it, because at first I was kind of hard on myself, and I had a real rough go of it the first round of this until I swirled and swirled enough that I comforted myself and made myself feel better. And in doing that, I realized that I don't have to be embarrassed or ashamed of anything that's going on here. And that a part of that was making it hard for me to release it. And so I would also recommend releasing any guilt or shame that you might have about any programs, or because I found a lot of that coming up. So I just felt like overall, this is a very healing experience. One that I'm still going through. I don't think we're done yet, but I'm enjoying it.
I just want to add one quick thing to what Lisa said, is that remember we talked about when the programs are there, there's a protection program
it's like a
that
shielding
rides
mechanism,
above it,
yeah.
shielding, right?
Yes.
So the embarrassed and the guiltiness, that's your shielding. That's your tech mechanism put there intentionally, right? That goes with the program to shield it from it.
Well, it's highly effective.
Yeah, right.
But it is something you can overcome. Yes.
Right. And again, those are some of your, if you wanted to go in the very linear sense and say those are your weapons against basically the programming and the tinkering that was done within your body.
Yes.
Right? Those are your weapons against that. Those are your weapons. That's your ray gun against that shield that sits on that program to protect it.
Sure.
Noticing it and to realize it, and to know that those things, even if you don't cognize it in you, well, you heard this and you say, well, okay, I heard about that thing and that seemed like some really cockamamie idea, but now I see this going, hang on a minute, I think it is. It's like, that's blocking my ray gun. I can't, and that's why.
Yeah. Right. Wow. Yeah, well, you can't evict something that you don't see. If you don't know it's there, you can't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Really. Yeah, I'm really grateful for this. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. Well, I'm not done with it, to be honest.
No, I know.
I'm not finished with the exercise itself for myself, but yeah, thank you so much.
Having said that, now play with for a moment. Feel into, not think about, but feel into. Now you have some more tools have been brought to your awareness, brought to the forefront. They're in your hand, right? About the shielding, reminding of that. And about knowing that you can wholesale dematerialize a bunch of them at once. Does that change anything?
Yes. Well, I find that very helpful. Yeah.
Well, you said feel into it. I just felt lighter. I felt immediately lighter.
Well, it feels less of a chore. It feels less impossible. It just it feels more like it should, which is just natural.
And it takes the phrase that's in the background. Am I ever going to get there? Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the one thing that I would recommend to anyone that might be starting this sort of a thing, that the thing in the examples that you gave, for example, the deep state, of course, I can't do my vision. We know that triggered me. So I'm going to recommend for anyone that might undertake something like this, ask yourself something that you really want.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just, because for me, that was the big, the I can't do my vision. That was it. was what spoke the loudest and what caught my attention the most, because it's what I want, it's what I feel the most. And so and coming face to face with all of the I can'ts, or there's this and that and the other in the way, that was an important step that I'm actually still working with.
Yeah, that's really a good point, Sheila, because it's like one of the, it's almost like a thread. So if you can find it and start to tug on it, and then it sort of unravels that little belief system or misnomer, however you want to say it. And if you keep tugging, you'll find it's connected to the one right next to it, and it just kind of keeps going, and you can unravel quite a thing. But I think that goes to also your wholesale dismissal of it all, like sort of get to the root, get hold of it and pull it right out of there.
And you don't have to identify the root.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, because those are old.
No, what I meant was the thread, the little piece that you identified, you could just sort of pull on it.
Right.
And it will take the string with it.
Absolutely. But you're absolutely correct. And you can also.
So you're saying you don't have to look at each piece and be intimate with it again. Just sort of let it unravel.
Yes. And you can get the feeling of it. Maybe,
okay.
So getting to the root is oftentimes that's, was there a phrase or a trigger moment or a trauma that happened or whatever, it just feels like and just kind of pick up a crayon or whatever you do to not think about it, just get something out there, color, a squiggle, or sentence, a phrase, whatever it is, right? I'm serious, because now you're bypassing the think. I gotta get to the
Okay, right.
Because then we're just, and what are we doing? Now we're swimming diving deep right back into it. So we're giving our focus and attention right into it.
I gotcha.
And we're creator beings. And what we focus on and give our attention to, and we power it. Okay, well, how's that working for us now? So yeah, you can do all of those things, absolutely. But and if that's the way that people work, or great. I'm far be it for me. If that's what you want to do, cool. But I'm saying it's not like, okay, these are really important instructions and they're 1 through 5 and you must get to the root before.
Right. No.
If you want to and you find it and you got a hold of it and it's thrashing you about, cool. Or not, whatever you want.
Well, the noticing was the most helpful for me. The noticing of it, but there I have found a few things that I just needed to really sit with for a bit. So, but that's been good for me.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that just really stood out. I just feel very fortunate that you included that as part of the text.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it triggered something inside, and I don't know that it would have had the same effect on me had that not been it might have, but that's why I wanted to speak that out to anyone that's undertaking this sort of an exercise. Give yourself some examples of things you would like to see and why, what's happening.
Or something you find yourself saying a lot, like, are we there yet, or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
And again, don't edit them, just on a separate sheet, just throw some things down, and then, we'll include this little paragraph here, and, and you can copy and paste it into whatever your Word or whatever program you have, and then you can take, right here where it says IE and examples, you can erase some, or you can pop yours in there, and and then you can sit down when you have a moment and just start it. Because when you connect with and tune into this block of text and do it, they're all keys and codes and triggers in here, and so it will connect with you. If you choose to connect with it, it will connect.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, by the way. I really feel like that's a very good point, BZ, that it's if you choose to connect with it.
Right.
It's very easy to hear anything and just, and, so.
That's a good idea. I'll try that sometime.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's shielding, because that's an alert. Whoa, no. Alarm.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If you dread it, it means you have to do it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and here's the other thing. There's so much that we purport to want. I really want to do that. I can't wait to have it. That we purport to do that. And the same one that purports, excuse me. Absolutely not.
Uh-oh.
It was a slip. Don't let it happen again. Sorry.
Did Keegan get in trouble?
Well, he was thinking about going after the fly, and the fly landed on the counter, and he thought, how am I going to get the fly on the counter without putting my paw on the counter? So he stood up this far away from the counter, trying to get his nose near the counter without it actually being on the counter.
Oh, I see.
While he was doing it, he knew this really was a bad choice to do that, because he's standing this far away from the counter on his hind legs looking at the fly, and one eyeball is looking at me that's looking at him, and he's going, uh-oh, busted.
Oh, she really can see out the side of her eye. I remember when I was a kid, my mother told us she had eyes in the back of her head.
Yeah, he did if it wasn't proven every 2 seconds, dude.
I know, right?
So on this, those who, everybody purports to really want something. And I say purport to want, because if you really wanted it, this doesn't cost you any money. It can be done in a few minutes here and there. You can do it on a lunch break. All the wholesale excuses that are, laundry list long.
Yeah.
It can do that. And if that wasn't, some incentive there, but the energy is where we are right this moment, and then the next moment they're even bigger, and so on and so forth. And we really aren't moving fast yet with the energies flowing in and the level that they're flowing in. I'm sorry, but we're really not, despite all the aches and pains and whatever. Okay, we're going to keep jumping, and we're going to get faster and more expansive, and it's delicious. But we're in the phase right this moment where when we make, and we'll go into this in other videos, but when we make that 100% commitment, when we I'll just leave it at that. When we make that 100% commitment and we do that, it changes everything. And everything we and this is, we talked about this in another video, what we create the new earth. It's not someplace out there. It comes from within here. And because we create our own realities, and we are our own galaxies, it's what's you've heard the phrase going galactic. That's part of what that is. And we actually will play in, work in, swim in, maneuver in simultaneously in multidimensionality, in multiple experiences, in multiple streams and layers and levels of consciousness, simulcast, and it'll make sense to us. And unless we choose to have them, things in those experiences, exchanges, interchanges, co-creations, however you want to hold it, unless we choose to have them be not magalicious, right? Because that's what we want to, right? That's, you know, I don't want a magalicious one, I want a maggoty one. Okay, cool. They don't have to be that. They don't have to be anything but magalicious. They absolutely don't have to. We're at choice. And that's not somewhere down the road. That's not eons away. That's not, you know, I got to jump through the hoops. That's not, I got to read the right book or watch the right video or go to the right guru or blah, 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 blah. It's all absolutely dependent on one expert. In that case, you do have to go to the right expert. You do have to go to the absolutely most experienced, most amazing, stupendous, intelligent, gifted, creative, loving, expansive being out there. You do have to do that. Take your finger and point it at you. That's where you have to go. And if you're willing to do that, magalicious to the nines. And if you want to throw a few maggots in there for fun, go right ahead. But that's what it's all about. So that's why I say purported. So when we put this out, if you read this paragraph and you insert your things that Sheila suggested, which is a great idea, in there, you know, if you want to add to something in there. If you're not choosing or allowing yourself to choose to do something, or the rendition, the iteration, the thought that leaps, you don't look at this and go, wow, that's a great idea, and then you go do something totally different. Bravo, because you just listened to you, the expert, who's got it all going on, and it's taking you on it because that's what was the right thing for you. Perfect. But what I'm saying is, if you're not choosing, and it's a choice, to do something like this, either this or, you know, with a spotted tail on it, or, you know, completely something else on it, then you're only purporting to want this, that, or the other. You're only purporting to want to be done with this, that, or the other.
Right. That's a very valid point, BZ.
Yes.
Think about that. How bad do you really want it?
Well, it certainly gives a whole new meaning to self-responsibility, doesn't it?
So do you, you know, are you honoring yourself with what you say? You know, that was one of the things when you know, I did small business and life coaching. I stood for the client. So the client would say, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Great. So since I stood for them, then I would keep saying, great, well, you know, you said you want to do X, Y, and Z, and working through it. Okay, so why are you letting yourself down? Because I stand for you. Now, if you've changed your mind and you want to do something else, great, and I'll stand for you over there. So it's the same kind of thing. We say we want these things. We say we're tired of this. We can't wait for this. We want this, whatever it is. And we're the only thing standing in our way. And it is that simple. And that excruciatingly difficult if we let it be, choose it to be, ride in that.
At some point, I'd love to, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter, but I feel that there's a huge reason why that is. I still feel like the more expansive I become, the more conscious the more light I direct in those little corners of unconsciousness, the more that it feels like to me the reasoning behind all of this has to do with not really taking in the idea of what does it mean to be conscious? What how, you know, and I'm finding for myself there's levels of conscious awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And the more of the programming that I can find and throw off, the more conscious I find, or at least it feels that way to me. And so the more expansive I become and the more conscious I'm becoming, the more I can see, I feel I can clearly see exactly why things are still the same way they are. Because yes, I have a consciousness and I'm a creator and I'm this singularity. But what's running right now on this planet is a collective consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And if most of the collective, even parts of the collective that, you know, like me, think I'm conscious, still got a shit ton of programs running. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the answer, isn't it? I mean, that's really what we're talking about here.
Yeah. So I'm going to characterize it two things slightly differently. So I'll start with the last point because that's right at the top of mind, and hopefully I'll remember the other point that I made. So yes, it's a collective program, but have you looked around out there lately? I mean, the walls of Jericho are tumbling down. Oh, you think they're just tumbling down because they felt like, hey, you know, today is a really good example. Hey, it's May 18th. We're gonna have a shit ton of things come crumbling down off the wall of Jericho. No, because you are looking in the different pockets of you because you chose to, and you are illuminating. And that's the other thing. You're illuminating what you thought was reality, what you thought were those programs, to see the illusory nature of it. So that is what consciousness is. One way you could phrase it, one way you could hold it, describe it, is consciousness is illuminating that which is really illusory and was just imaginary to begin with.
So in essence, what we're saying here is that as each of us, I'll keep it right here to myself first though,
Mm-hmm.
as I look in all those nooks and crannies and see all of my own programming, that in turn is reflected out in, you know, as my friend Carm, the Empress of Time, says, the mirror games, you know, out in the world. So
yep. So I'm gonna stop you for a minute. I'm just spinning a little on the IUV. You could go any site, right? So as you're doing that, and as you've been, you know, playing with this exercise, right? So that was bits and bytes in the Wiener things being released. You know, that was pieces and frequencies and vibrational signatures within Trump's speech on prison reform today, which, if anybody has seen that, it really just about prison reform.
yeah, no,
Anywhere
we got to do.
and insert it in where prison was, and that's what the speech was about. You know, or you could say that you were responsible in what you're doing and illuminating something for making one of the 34 bishops that resigned in Chile for pedophilia. That's part of it. So that's what I'm saying is you have everything is related. It's all this amazing, sublimely delicious orchestration of all of this choreographed, and we choreographed it all. Why? For expansion. And yes, there's a different, from a narrower focus perspective, there is tinkering and hijacking, and we'll get to those in other videos. Absolutely, all those are correct. But we're trying to take the bigger, widest aperture. So yeah, everybody, whether it's leaking of cell phone data, well, that's all coming. It's not they didn't started just leaking it. They've been doing it forever. And I have to laugh, just as a side note, on that particular one. One of the major ones of that was Securus. And SecurousNet happens to be a company that I've spent, I don't even care to add up how much money, talking to the hotels, because that's the company that I pay, so that real time they can track my cell phone where I am while I'm talking to Heather or Randy.
Well, isn't that interesting? Now that's a bit of news I didn't have before.
And no, it's not a coincidence. So what I'm saying is you can look at any site, YouTube, anywhere, but because this is handy and it's up here, any place, those are the walls of Jericho tumbling down. And why are they tumbling down? Because you and you and you and you and you and me and all the yous are doing in their own version the illumination of these pockets, of shifting your consciousness, because the energy is expanding, because we're all leveling up, because most haven't leaped up. However you want to hold it, that's why it's happening. Isn't just because all of a sudden it decided to go to hell in a handbasket. We're making it. It's the next stage. We're pulling it all down.
Yep.
And we've got this amazing, if you want to use a planting metaphor, we have this amazing garden already seeded and sprouted and whatever, and we're just going to reveal it. It's right there. And where is it? It's right in each one. But only if we choose. We choose.
Yep.
Each choose.
We each choose. Yep, that's right. Wow, this has really been a good one, y'all. It was a really great exercise too, BZ. Thank you so much.
That was perfect.
Yeah.
So next time I
You need more time off.
Yeah, well, there you go. Your lips to somebody's ears. So next time I text you and said, y'all want to play, you'll still say yeah.
I keep saying my hand.
Especially if I feel a little dread.
One thing
I don't know what she wants this time, but I'm all in.
Oh God, yeah, okay. One thing I remember you said way back, Sheila, is that you thought it might have been easier because Lisa was right with you, and you knew I was when I called you tonight. So how'd it go? Right? And some people may not have it. Well, they do. If they choose to avail themselves of it, they can do it in their own life with their own friends, however they want to do it.
Yeah.
They have email addresses. They have comment sections. Right?
That is right. Yes, that's exactly correct. Use the comment section. Use my email address. Absolutely. Hey, I'm game for that. Anybody that's interested in doing, if you feel like you want to have someone like Lisa and I had each other, sure, absolutely. I would love that.
And you can, one thought that just popped in my head, and there's various ways that we can play with it, but if this video or any other, if someone's got a thought or a question or idea or a yabot or whatever it is, get it out there somehow, however you choose to do that. And in a way that says, it's a phrase or a question, whatever it is, and then, do we want to somehow play with that? And I'm sure there's ways to play with that. So that can be right there, you've got, we've offered this a lot of times, but so we'll offer it again. So you have it right there. So it can be done, and you want it in a way that's more anonymous, and we won't say, that Bernadette Peters wrote, I don't know why her name came to mind, but as in the comedian. sent it in, we, that's not a problem. We can play with all that in various different ways, and whatever is out there to play with that comes in. But to say, because that's an energy, frequency, vibrational neighborhood. I don't have Lisa and Sheila or B or whoever it is. I don't have X, Y, and Z. You don't understand, and well, okay, that's a choice. Because actually, I'm pretty sure that's Sheila and that's Lisa from my camera, and that's BZ, and we all just said yeah. So, so we just nixed that excuse. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. That excuse actually has been gone for quite some time.
Right.
I put my email addresses in every video I've ever put out.
Right.
And yeah, so, and we have the comment section. So yeah, that has been nixed. I encourage everyone to get in touch. So we're going to be putting that text that you have there, BZ. Yep. In the, I will just put a quick line about what this video is about, and then I'll have the text separate and unto itself, so that if you want to click on it and copy it and paste it into Word or something so you can print it out for yourself, that'd be awesome. And then I'll have everybody else's information down underneath that in the show more section of this video. So awesome. Do either one of you have anything else you'd like to add before we end this one? No.
I would say play and wholesale dematerialize.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too.
Sounds good.
Okay, awesome. All right. Well, till next time.
Bye-bye.